wondering if I'm the only one that feels this way, but I regret having my kids. I don't regret having my kids, but I regret having my kids. I say that because doing all this stuff by yourself, / in separate households, co-parenting with the other parent, is terrible. Being a single mom used to be like almost like idolized in a way, like, you know, you're a strong woman, you're doing this by yourself, you're da-da-da-da-da, and it's like, no, none of this parenting shit was meant to be done alone, and I cannot stress that enough.
It was idolized by women to tell you that you should do it by yourself. Other than that, it was never idolized. It was actually, in a sense, it was shamed, unfortunately, but it was never idolized. Other single women made it seem like it was a good thing. But let's continue.
Like, the strain that is on me is like so heavy. Like, it's so hard for me to explain. Like, I'm so tired, like mentally exhausted, not physically, but mentally. And my kids are still young. They're only going to get older. They're always going to be my kids. I love them to death. And it came to a point where we had the kids before we realized that we weren't even right for each other. I knew we weren't right for each other, but I still thought that, you know, there's always that chance, right? No. Me personally, I didn't grow up in a one-parent household. I grew up in a two-parent household. My parents were married and are still married to this day. And to think that my kids are not growing up that way, like, literally breaks me inside every time I think about it. And just thinking from their perspective, you know, having to go from mom's house to dad's house, you know, kind of back and forth like that, not seeing their mom and their dad in the same room, enjoying life together, having those family moments and whatnot. And it took me a while to realize that I couldn't fix it. Like, we're just not a match. And because of that, it makes me feel like shit on the daily. Hence the reason why I say I regret having my kids. I regret having my kids within this circumstance. I don't regret my kids, but it's just hard because sometimes it just feels like no one could ever step in and be that other parent. You know what I mean?
Of course not.
So it's like, am I left to do all of these things by myself for forever? Like being a parent to my children and just all of the things that come with it. You know what I mean? Like not having that person that, you know, truly understands my kids, because it's just something about when it's your kid, you understand them a little bit differently. Not saying that somebody couldn't come in and do that, but it just seems like a very rare thing. And then for me, just for my sanity, my peace of mind, you know, being able to coordinate with someone in terms of, you know, picking the kids up, making sure dinner is done, the kids had their bath, help with cleaning the house up and things like that. It's like I'm literally doing everything myself, including paying all the bills. Listen, and at the same time, I know I'm not the only one that's in this boat. I know there's a lot of us that are in this boat, but I'm telling you, this boat is ass. So if you don't have kids and you don't have a partner, don't do it. Do not do it.
See, this video, first thing was, at the end of the day, she said she regrets having kids. This video is a prime example of when you get into a relationship and you start to have kids, and then you realize, oh yeah, we're not compatible. Go to therapy. Make the marriage work. Make the relationship work. Because at the end of the day, being single with no kids is hard. Being with somebody with kids is hard. Make it work. Make it work. Regardless, it is for not only the kids, but also for your own structure, your own mind frame. Now, when you go out into dating, you have to worry about if somebody's going to take advantage of your kids, if somebody's going to touch your kids, if somebody's going to do something to your kids. Instead, just try to make it work. And what she said about back in the day, they would say single moms are this, single moms are that. Only single women and people that were used to misery would make it seem as though it was a trophy. Other than that, everybody would state that it is a hard task. It's not something that you should go about. It should be the last resolution. Last. It's not something you should be like, well, let me just go do this. No. Make it work with your partner. Now, she said she was in a situation to where her guy and her realized they're not compatible. Shit, y'all was compatible at one moment. get it realigned, get it resurfaced, because now it's hard for you to deal with your children or your child by yourself. From your statement, it is hard. It makes you start thinking you regret having kids. Then you need to start going to that partner and see if you can reconcile, try to make things work. Humble yourself. Both parties need to humble themselves for that relationship. It's not about you no more. It's not about your pride or your ego. It's about the whole family. It's about your kid growing up. Like you stated, you saw that your parents grew up together. You have no idea if your parents had a moment in time where they thought about breaking up and they made it through. If I was her, if there was no domestic violence, if there was no real abuse happening, I would tell her try to reconnect with her son's or her daughter's father and try to see it work. Because going out there in the dating scene, it ain't worth nothing. It really isn't. Especially now, you have to find a man that's willing to take your children in as though it's his children. And then you have to worry, is he actually a predator? Is he actually gonna really take care of you and the children? Is if the father of your children gonna get along with him? Is he a good example for your children? Instead, if that guy that you were with is still an involved father, swallow your pride, make it work, pursue that relationship. Once again, I stated, if it is not a big issue, man, try to make it work, because at the end of the day, one of the biggest things that you should show your kids is the love inside of the home. And just like she said, it hurts her. Does it hurt enough to swallow your pride and humble yourself? Does it hurt enough your child not seeing that togetherness? Now that's up to you. But this is a prime example of, some women regret having their kids per se, only because they regret more so not having that partnership. But you have an option of trying to make that partnership work. Relationships aren't easy. Stop acting as though they're just supposed to mend together and they're supposed to be fine. They're like jobs. You have to work at it. With that said, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Yeah, have a good one.